Hi, everybody. Today is Tuesday, September 19th, 2023, and it's 7:30 p.m. in Colombia. I want to bid you welcome, everybody, for all of you, the ones who are live now with us. Thanks for being here tonight. And also, all of those who are watching this later, because this is part of a few playlists that I have on this channel. And welcome again to the third video in this series. The series is about the gerund, how to master the gerund, understanding and mastering the gerund in Spanish. It's very important. If you haven't watched the first two videos, it is very important that you check it out in order to fully understand what we are going to talk about. And remember, the basic idea is that gerund in English is not gerund in Spanish. Gerund in Spanish is the present participle in English. And the gerund in English as a form, as a grammar form or concept, does not exist in Spanish. So we used to have in the ancient Spanish, we used to have the present participle, but that's an ancient form. We no longer use it, and based on that, basically we use words that came from that. Words like the words that come from a verb, and usually end in ante. Amante, interesante, tranquilizante, all of those words, which usually are either adjectives or nouns, come from the present participle in Spanish when it was a form, a grammar form. So we have learned how to conjugate the gerund ing in Spanish for regular and irregular verbs. We already learned that. And also we have talked about how to translate the gerund in Spanish, because, and this is very important, this has to do a lot with what I just told you and what I explained in the past two videos, is because of the gerund in English is not gerund in Spanish. In English, the ing form is used for two things. For verbs in the progressive or continuous form, I am running, you were playing, he will be expecting, right? In the progressive form, that has one translation, one type of translation in Spanish. And in English, the ing form also can be used in gerund as nouns or adjectives. And that's the other way we can translate verbs, and we already explained that. But there is one thing that we are missing, and it's the going to form. In English, we use the going to form. I'm going to, you were going to, he is going to. That form is used in order to talk about plans that we make or the decisions that we make. So let's say, I'm going to travel tomorrow to Spain. That's the decision that I made. And I'm going to study Spanish. I'm going to study Japanese next year. That's a plan of mine. So that's the way we used mostly the going to form in English. And this is something very interesting and we need to consider. But remember first that this is part of the series of videos in Spanish of verbs, knowing how to conjugate verbs, learning how to conjugate verbs, and in this case, the gerund form. And also remember, if you like the video, please, you know what to do, share with your friends, groups, social media, and if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel, click the link at the bell button in order to get notifications, so because we're posting videos on a daily basis. So When we talk about the going to form in English is different than the simple future, because for the simple future in English we use the will, right? I will play. That means in a simple future I'm saying in the future I will play. That's something that I'm going to do in the future. I will. It always uses the will auxiliary verb. The simple future, I will go, you will go, he will go, she will go, is different than the going to form. I'm going to, he's going to, blah blah. Simple future is for future. Going to form is in order to talk about plans and or decisions that we just made, right? In Spanish, at least here in Colombia, I'm from Colombia, Latin American Spanish. Remember that I do have a series of videos in which I'm teaching Colombian slang and stuff. In Colombia, most of the people use the going to form as the simple future form. Funny thing, right? So let's check this. Let me show you this real quick here. Just a second. Okay, so the going to form. Going to means it's translated. To be going to is translated as ir a. We're going to go there shortly. That would be just like a literal translation from to go to. To be going to, the form to be going to has to be translated as the to go to. Meaning, because we know that the ing form could be translated either as ando, yendo. In this case, I would be tempted to translate to be going to as estar yendo a, right? Estar yendo a, that would be the literal translation of this. But as I explain now, as I'm explaining now, this to be going to is always translated in Spanish and understood as ir a. And we're going to go there right away. The other form that we explained about the ing would be as a verb. That would be estar ir, but it doesn't make any sense. So remember, from now on, anytime you see the form to be going to and you're going to translate or understand that in Spanish, it goes as ir a. And as I explained to you before, the future form we use in Colombia at least is not the simple future. Is not the simple future. The simple future, let's say, I have here sentences in the simple future and sentences, the same sentence in the going to form. So if I say in English, I will read tomorrow, that's something. And if I say I'm going to read tomorrow, that's something else. Can be pretty much the same, but not quite, because this is a decision that I made, a plan that I'm making, and this is basically saying that that is going to happen tomorrow, right? Simple future versus going to form. In Colombia, as I said before, in Colombia, in Spanish from Colombia, I'm not sure if it's the same in Latin America or other countries, but I can tell you here in Colombia, we barely use the simple future in Spanish. So if I'm going to say yo leeré mañana, I really say yo voy a leer mañana. And that happens a lot here in Colombia, in our Spanish. When we talk about things in the future, we always use the going to form. And as you can see, I'm going to, or I'm going to, the form going to, right, is translated as yo voy a. Ir a, the thing that I just said here. The form is translated as ir a. So let's check this few examples. I can say yo leeré mañana. I will read tomorrow. And I can say I'm going to read tomorrow. Yo voy a leer mañana. But for us, this is more common than this one. Does it mean that I cannot say that or this is incorrect? No. If somebody says yo leeré mañana, in Spanish, I understand. It doesn't sound weird, not at all. And I can say yo leeré mañana and people is going to understand me. But we rather use this. Don't ask me why. that's what happens in Colombian Spanish. Colombian Spanish, as I told you before, not quite sure if the same happens in all Latin America, but at least here in Colombia, we use this a lot instead of the simple future. That it doesn't mean that we do not know how to make sentences, how to build sentences in this tense. Not at all. The thing is that we always use this. If I say, you will eat with us, tú comerás con nosotros, it's okay. But if we want to convey that idea, we usually say, tú vas a comer con nosotros. You are going to eat with us. In which you are going to is translated as tú vas a. So, if I have, he will work here, él trabajará aquí mañana, the real translation for us in Colombia, we rather say, él va a trabajar aquí mañana. He is going to work here tomorrow. I just forgot tomorrow. Whoops. Tomorrow. Here, tomorrow. Okay. Fixed. Where he is going to is translated as él va a. Él va a. She will be here. Ella estará aquí. It is okay. But then again, we say ella va a estar aquí. She's going to be here. Where she's going to literally translates ella va a. Ella va a. It will rain today. Lloverá hoy. We say va a llover hoy. It's going to rain today. It is going to rain today. Where it is going to is translated as va a. Remember that. In sentences, affirmative and negative sentences in which we use it as a subject, we do not have a translation for that in Spanish. We just go with the verb itself. Nosotros viviremos juntos. We will live together. Nosotros vamos a vivir juntos. We are going to. We are going to. Nosotros vamos a vivir juntos. Nosotros vamos a. And last but not least, ellos pagarán la cuenta. They will pay the bill. That's simple future. But once again, we rather say ellos van a pagar la cuenta. Ellos van a pagar la cuenta. So they are going to. Ellos van a. So having said this, this is the way we use the simple future basically in Spanish. So the future form for us is the going to form. It doesn't mean that we do not know or we do not understand or that it's gonna sound weird. Not at all. And remember, any going to tense sentences built using that tense are going to be translated as ir a, which should be a literal translation from to go to. Now, in the simple present, just as in English, I have these conjugations. And as you can see, the conjugation goes for the verb to go, ir in the simple present. Go means ir. So this I am going to, this thing is translated as voy a, ir a. So in the case of the simple present, we have I am going to whatever, yo voy a. You are going to whatever, tú vas a. That would be singular, informal, close relationships. You are going to is also translated as usted va a, which is singular formal. Also translated as ustedes van a, plural. Or if in Spain, plural for vosotros vais a. This is you are going to. Remember, this, although it's it's uh, present part. Oh, now I got mixed. Participle, present participle in English, which if I'm going to check this in Spanish and I can think this is a gerund, this really is translated as usted va. It doesn't have anything to do with the gerund actually. He is going to, él va a. She is going to, ella va a. It is going to, va a. We are going to, nosotros vamos a. They are going to, ellos van a, male, or ellas van a, female. So, once again, any am going to, are going to, is going to be going to form the simple present. We really change this and think of the conjugation of the verb to go by itself. Yo voy a, I go to, right? But of course, this comes from I'm going to. This is for you to keep in mind. And I have this more examples. Ella va a visitar a su abuela mañana. She is going to visit her grandmother tomorrow. Is going to, va a, as you can see. Ellos van a hacer un picnic el sábado. They are going to have a picnic on Saturday. Are going to, van a. Ellos, male. Yo voy a llamarte esta noche. I'm going to call you tonight. Going to, voy a. Él va a postularse para ese trabajo. Él va a postularse para ese trabajo. He is going to apply for that job. He's going to. Vamos a ver una película. We are going to watch a movie. We are going to. Vamos a. Sara va a viajar a Europa. Sarah is going to travel to Europe. Va a is going to. Ellos van a comprar una casa nueva el próximo año. They are going to buy a new house next year. María va a hornear un pastel para la fiesta. Mary is going to bake a cake for the party. El equipo va a ganar el campeonato. The team is going to win the championship. And yo voy a encontrarte en el café. I'm going to meet you at the coffee. Now, as in English, in Spanish, we can also conjugate this in the past form. But be careful. Remember that we have two different pasts. In Spanish, we have pretérito indefinido and pretérito imperfecto. We have those two. One is for things that happened and that was it. And the other one is just for things that usually happened. That happened on a daily, on a usual basis, on a frequent basis. That would happen. That would be like when I say, in the past I would play the guitar every day, or I used to play the guitar. That's pretérito indefinido. Pretérito indefinido. I mean imperfecto. Pretérito indefinido in Spanish is things that just happened, and pretérito imperfecto, things that would happen on a constant basis. So that means that if I have this form in the past, I would think that I could translate this the two ways, but not quite. Not quite. When it comes to the going to form in the past, we need to use pretérito imperfecto in Spanish, because if I remember, let me write here something real quick. Remember that to be going to can be thought as to go to, right? Literally translate that from that in Spanish. Ir a. That's it. So if I'm talking about the verb to go, which is ir, if I say I went, right? Because that's the past of to go, I can say yo fui or yo iba. Yo fui, pretérito indefinido, things that happened just once. Yo iba, pretérito imperfecto, things that would happen on a daily basis. I can translate this in that way. And that's the reason why when I find this, I could think that I could do this form using either fui or iba, but that's not true. In Spanish, when we are translating this from English to Spanish, the form to be going to in the past, I have to use pretérito imperfecto. Yo iba a. I was going to. You were going to. Tú ibas a. Singular, informal, close relationships. You were going to. Usted iba a. Singular, formal. You were going to. Ustedes iban a. Plural. You were going to. Vosotros ibais a. Plural in Spain. He was going to. Él iba a. She was going to. Ella iba a. It was going to. Iba a. We were going to. Nosotros íbamos a. They were going to. Ellos iban a. Male. They were going to. Ellas iban a. Female. So remember, it is very important to learn and understand that when it comes to translating this into Spanish, because it's the past of to go, we can only use the pretérito imperfecto. Iba, not fui. If I use fui, I cannot use this kind of sentences, because usually the sentence that comes with a was going to form or were going to form needs another clause in order to make sense or have that in context. And the only way that it makes sense in Spanish is by using this pretérito imperfecto. So in the case of ella iba a visitar a su abuela ayer, she was going to visit her grandmother yesterday. She didn't. She was going to. She didn't. But her car broke down. Pero su carro se descompuso. I cannot say ella fue a visitar a su abuela ayer, pero su carro se descompuso. Well, I can say that, but that's incorrect in Spanish. That's incorrect Spanish. So I can say, ellos iban a hacer un picnic el sábado pasado, pero llovió todo el día. They were going to have a picnic last Saturday, but it rained all day or the whole day. Yo iba a llamarte anoche, pero me quedé dormido temprano. I was going to call you last night, but I fell asleep. Oh, let me see, because this is not showing. Yeah. Okay. Let me see if I can move this here. Let me see if that's fixed. Okay, way better. So, yo iba a llamarte anoche, pero me quedé dormido temprano. I was going to call you last night, but I fell asleep early. Next one. Él iba a postularse para ese trabajo, pero cambió de opinión en el último momento. He was going to apply for that job, but he changed his mind at the last minute. Íbamos a ver una película, pero se fue la electricidad. We were going to watch a movie, but the power went out. There was a blackout. Sara iba a viajar a Europa, pero su pasaporte expiró. Sarah was going to travel to Europe, but her passport expired. Ellos iban a comprar una casa nueva del año pasado, pero decidieron renovar la que tienen en su lugar. Okay, yeah. Like this. Ellos iban a comprar una casa nueva el año pasado, pero decidieron renovar la que tienen en su lugar. They were going to buy a new house last year, but they decided to renovate their current one instead. Mary was going to bake a cake for the party, but she ran out of time. That means Mary iba a hornear un pastel para la fiesta, pero se quedó sin tiempo. El equipo, let's jump from here to here. El equipo, let me see if it's show. Okay, like here. El equipo iba a ganar el campeonato, pero perdió en el juego final. The team was going to win the championship, but they lost in the final game. And last but not least, Yo iba a encontrarte en el café, pero quedé atrapado en el tráfico. I was going to meet you at the cafe, but I got stuck in traffic. So remember, if we're going to use the to be going to form in the past and we need to translate that into Spanish, or we are going to make sentences in that tense because it works in Spanish, I have to use pasado imperfecto. I have to do that in order to be able to convey the information and properly speak Spanish. Now, as I explained that, the pretérito indefinido will be incorrect. So that means that if I take I was going to, I cannot say yo fui a. You were going to, you cannot say tú fuiste a. I cannot say that. That would be correct only and only if the translation really comes from this form. I went to, like I went to the movies like last night. Yo fui al cine la noche pasada. And the translation in this, it would be really the translation according to the verb itself in its simple past form, which is something that we have learned so far. So that's what I wanted to explain about the things that could have been missed about the gerund in Spanish. This is most likely the gerund form in English, and not quite, because it really is the present participle form in English, and the gerund ing, the ing. And remember, just because it's an ing, it doesn't mean that immediately I'm going to translate that in Spanish as ando endo. That's very important. That's very important. So this was what was left in order to fully understand and have all the information that we need in order to properly understand and build sentences using gerund in Spanish, or translating from gerund and present participle from English to Spanish. It is very important because it can create a lot of trouble. People gets confused when trying to understand this, but it is something that can be understood and achieved by practicing. So this is the theory. Now it's up to you to start practicing, and the best way you can start practicing is by building sentences, trying to speak with people, trying to build sentences on a daily basis using these concepts. So that was tonight. We had a short class, but not because of that was going to be less important. It is very important, this subject, but with this we covered all what we needed to know and understand about the ing translated to Spanish. So I hope this has been helpful. I don't know if you have questions. It seems not. I really want to thank you for all the support to the channel. We're growing on a steady basis. We have achieved, we have passed the 5,000 subscribers as of today, Tuesday, 19th of September, 2023. And I'm looking forward to keeping on growing and reaching more people. Remember, oh, thank you, Serena. Thanks a lot. Remember that I have the podcast. Season 2 of the podcast already started. It's pretty cool because I have full conversations, over 30, 35, 40, 45 minutes of conversations on each one of the episodes with people who are living, Spanish speakers, Spanish native speakers who moved to another country, and they are going to tell their experiences adapting to a new culture, learning a second language. I have those videos with subtitles both in Spanish and in English. So it's going to be an interesting listening comprehension practice for you. That's the season 2 of the podcast Charlas con Mike. It is so interesting. We're posting new episodes every Wednesday around 7:30 p.m. Colombian time. So please do not miss an episode. And the other thing that we're doing is I have another list of videos which is called Colombian Slang 101. I'm teaching Colombian slang, words that we say here in Colombia, and that even Colombians do not know why we do that. So it is very interesting. I have an explanation in English, and then I have a conversation in Spanish with a friend of mine, Colombian, in which we talk about the slang of the video. And it's also subtitled to Spanish. A lot of practice for you. Real Spanish. That's real Spanish from Colombia. And I also have another playlist that is called Mike's World, in which I go around towns here in the Valle del Cauca, zona cafetera, the coffee axis, during things my regular life, showing things, videos in which I just go talk, show things, go here and there, talk about culture, things that we do in Spanish with subtitles for you to practice, for you to learn. So a lot of things are on the go, a lot of things are on the works, and great things coming. I see nobody has questions. I was just stalling a little bit, but it looks like it seems like nobody has questions. That means everybody has understood. Nonetheless, if you have questions, leave a comment. I'll reply as soon as possible. If you like this video, please share. I mean, you know what to do. Share with your friends, groups, social media. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel. Click the bell button in order to get notifications, because as I just told you, we are posting videos pretty much almost on a daily basis or on a weekly basis for you to be part of that. Also, thanks a lot to those who are supporting the channel either by buying me a coffee, which I have a link, and also the ones who have become members of the channel. Thanks a lot. That helps a lot. And as I always say, I really enjoy this process. Learning a second language is not hard. It's not hard. But it's not something that you're going to achieve in 3 weeks or 3 months. It needs a lot of work, but it's a fun process. And our brains are wired to do so. So do not get discouraged. If you really want to learn, we're going to do that all together. So I really enjoy this process, and I hope you do too. And looking forward to seeing you in another video. Have a great night. Gracias. I'm going to switch to Spanish. Sorry. Gracias por haber estado aquí. Un abrazo para todos. Saludos a mi amiga Sirina, siempre está allí presente. Saludos a todos los que están en vivo y a todas las personas que nos ven en diferido. Y nos vemos en un próximo video. Bye bye.